What's dark web? And that's for fucking pedos and stuff, isn't it?
We lost 2 of our listeners. 4 left now.
I had Alistair over him to win by knockout.
It was nice and fucking straight until you fucking touched it.
You said chocolate down on the hip.
Yeah, you were bad at it.
Get down, baby.
Let's go podcast. Woo!
Are we podcasting now?
I seen James is feeling a bit tired, is he?
Oh, sorry. Can you? It's not too windy or nothing because I'm outside, is it?
No, it's fine.
Sound. Yeah, he's been up since 4:30. It's his boy's birthday,
Right.
and his missus is in work, so he got all 3 kids. Are we on? Are we?
Yeah, we're live, yeah. Well, we're recording.
Yeah. Take it away. We do whatever we want. Hang on 2 seconds. There we go. Yeah, what's happening here? Obviously, like, if people are listening, James is, like we say, tired, and he might dial in. No, he did say he might drop in, didn't he?
Yeah.
Will you get a notification then?
Yeah, I'll have to admit him to the meeting.
You can do it live while we're
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
It's been a big week in, well, not so much boxing, but for the Welsh MMA.
Yeah.
Quite, well, mostly successful week, but if you think about it, Wales isn't very big, and to have 3 people in the UFC itself is a success. Never mind Jack Marshman and all them, just 3 people on Fight Island. But yeah, it was, I thought we better do one because it don't happen a lot, does it? It's the biggest, with COVID, it's the biggest sporting event in the world. And it was 3 local guys on it, so I thought we better do a podcast and talk about it.
Yeah.
Did you catch any of the fights, or did you see any of it?
I watched John Phillips and Jack, but
Yeah.
I didn't see Brett's fight. I did try, but I just messed the times up or something.
It was, yeah, because it was a slightly earlier card, Brett's was, than the others. Normally, like, early prelims start at, which Jack was on when he was fighting, which start at 11. So we knew roughly what time Jack was going to be on, about midnight. And then Brett was on the prelims, but they were earlier. So it was only by luck I seen Shaky's post on Facebook, because I was ready to tune in at 1 o'clock in the morning. But it was on at 11, so I did manage to catch it. But we'll start with Jack. Like you say, you've seen that. You were more, obviously, you're more boxing orientated. But what did you make of that of Jack's fight?
Just to give people a bit of an idea, I suppose in boxing terms, I'm what we call an MMA casual. In that,
yeah. There's most people are MMA casuals.
I tune in for the big fights and for any fights involving Welsh fighters normally. Yeah, I mean, I from what I saw, he seemed pretty much in control. Didn't seem ever out of his stride, really. I don't know if that's the way everyone saw it, but
he was impressive. Like, not just because this guy had already been in the UFC. Phillips, I think, wasn't it? Aaron Phillips, I think. He'd already been in a UFC. He was on a 5-fight win streak. Been in, got released on a 5-fight win streak. Gets called up late notice, which isn't great for him. But Jack had, reading Jack's tweets and stuff, he had 5 changes of opponent. So, and he's flying halfway across the world during a pandemic. It's not ideal, but like Jack, he's pretty laid back. I've met him quite a few times, spoken to him quite a few times, and he just takes in his stride. He's been fighting since he was like 8 or something. He's been training since he was 8 at least. And different to other guys in the Welsh guys, he's like different to Brett, put it that way. I know they teammates and stuff now, but like, Brett's strong at wrestling, but Jack has a good background in everything. Like, Brett comes from judo and jiu-jitsu, whereas Jack won a novice title in the ABAs.
Sorry about that.
Why?
Yeah, just receiving I was actually a phone call. It's a true story. A phone call off Lennox Lewis's old bodyguard.
Okay, and we waiting for James Lilley.
Oh, and he's ringing me again now. Right. I'll have to ring him back.
Maybe he wants some help to give Lennox hand. No, but yeah, like Jack won an ABA title, Novice Championships. I think he was under pants side. I think.
Yeah, and the Gavin Rees, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously he's with Gary Lockett as well. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. As you can see, Saturday. When was it? No, it was previous Saturday. I think it was, wasn't it? Was it Thursday?
Wednesday or Thursday or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was. I'm like they're all rolling into one. But yeah, it was Thursday because I fell asleep before John's fight. But as you can see from that, his wrestling is getting stronger all the time. His jiu-jitsu is quality. When it goes to the floor, I'm never worried for him. You know what I mean? It was a slight moment, and I think it was the Scott Malone title fight in Cage Warriors where he got taken down, and Scott was having some success, I think, but if I remember rightly. But he overcome it, and he stays calm and composed all the time. And obviously, he's got his father in his corner. Normally, Gary Lockett, Carl, I think, is the wrestling coach, but he's just he's only like 24 or something, really young. He's all in his stride, and I think they are pinning some big hopes on Jack. I think they have some big expectations for him.
I think as well that I think Wales is a bit of it's an untapped market as far as the UFC can see. UFC previously.
Definitely,
and the Welsh fans have shown over the years that with Joe Calzaghe and Anthony Joshua in more recent years that if there's decent fights put on, the Welsh fans will turn out in tens of thousands to watch.
I honestly think even if the UFC come to Wales and put a garbage card on, it was hardly no massive names. You're not talking Anderson Silvas or Conor McGregor's or anything. Just run of the mill, nothing that like something that you would ask maybe as you said, casual
yeah.
fan. You would ask, are these two guys any good? Sort of headline, and I still think it'd sell out in no time because the Welsh fans are hungry. The Welsh fans want the UFC to come to Wales. I know Shaky covered it when we spoke to him, the reasons why, but they're hungry for it, and I think they sell as many tickets as they wanted. To be honest, I genuinely think that.
Well, I know in the Millennium Stadium they can sort of split it in half, can't they? So they can make it into a sort of around a 40,000 seater venue. I'm sure a good UFC card in Wales would certainly sell that out. I would have thought.
I've like Shaky one so confident, but I've always been a believer that they could sell as many as they wanted. Because you think about it, you'd have all people from Birmingham, Bristol, all those areas, anywhere in Wales.
Yeah, the only thing, well, I'm sort of making an argument against what I just said there. Really, why haven't they done it already? Then perhaps, you got the
Go on.
Not necessarily in Wales, but just in Britain. Why haven't they put I know they've had shows in the O2.
A giant one, like an arena, like a football stadium show on. Yeah, don't know whether it's only a few with roof, able to close a roof like Millennium and stuff.
I think it's only the Millennium, yeah.
Yeah, and well, it's for a stadium show. We've got to count on the weather, and we can't, can we? Now, if you go to Australia, you can pretty much almost guarantee it's going to be nice if you've done an outside show. But I think anyway that could be a big problem with it.
Yeah, well, Eddie Hearn has put on quite a few stadium shows, hasn't he? With Froch, Joshua, probably at least 3 or 4 of Joshua's fights have been stadium shows.
But like you say, it's still sort of an untapped market as well. I know they sell out the O2 and stuff, but for a first big outside show, hoping that the weather stays nice, I don't know whether they want to risk that. I don't know, but I believe, like the same as yourself, I think they could sell as many tickets as they wanted, to be honest, because I've considered going to ones in London and stuff, and the tickets are gone in hours, if that. They're like hotcakes, genuinely like hotcakes. You can't get hold of one.
Yeah.
But
I think
with
that
Jack,
just shows that Wales as a country needs, well, it needs a sort of an arena of around 10, 12,000 people as well, because the motor point is probably just too small, 5,000 for boxing, which would be similar for MMA, I guess.
yeah.
Millennium Stadium is a huge, obviously, stadium, and that comes with all its financial implications. So it
And
needs
there's no in between, is it? There's no in between.
I think,
You've got
are they
you've got
building one in
Cardiff
Swansea at the moment?
Yeah, but that's only going to be about 3,000, I think.
Oh, is it? That's all.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. No, it's not. It's not the big 10,000 arena that everyone was open. Or it's just it'd be great. It'd be great for like a Cage Warriors would come there. Confident of that. Maybe a small matchroom show would go there.
Yeah.
Or Frank Warren. And it'd be good for local promoters of like MMA shows as well. That they have the option of, at the moment, I think one of the bigger ones was the Leisure Centre, which is like, I don't know, 1,500 people if you're lucky, standing. So it's a good, if you got a slightly good MMA promotion, slightly successful MMA promotion, it's a good option to have, really, because I mean 3,000 seater will still make a promoter a lot of money.
Yeah.
But like you say, we need a stadium. I think we need a star in terms of the fighters, and I think Jack and Brett are our best options at the moment. For a huge sporting star. Obviously, I know some of the local, the Welsh boxers, quite a few of them, but you'd be more clued up on that. Who's got the best chance of being the next big Welsh stars? Are going to be like Liam Williams, probably, or Chris Jenkins. Can he burst onto the world scene? But in MMA, I think it's Jack or Brett.
So how far do you think Jack is away from? I mean, how quickly are they going to move him? I suppose in this day and age, I suppose it's always been the case with UFC because it's still a relatively new sport. That fighters get exposed, as in, they get exposure at a very early stage.
Yeah, they sort of done it with Brett. Jack's similar to Brett at the moment. It's two sort of things that UFC seem to do, and with John fighting as well in a super hard fight, it's perfect for this conversation. It kind of mirrors it perfectly. We'll go with Brett first. When he broke in the UFC, he was 2-time world champion in 2 separate organizations. So, and he's undefeated. So, you know what I mean? They've been watching him for a while. And when he got the chance, he come into the UFC against another guy making his UFC debut in Quack, and comfortably won. So it wasn't a named fighter or. I mean, the guy was still good. I think the guy was 9-0 at the time. He was still a tough test. They're all tough tests. So, but he had an easier fight, if you want to call it that. There are easy fights, I know. But then, and the second fight was similar. Third fight, they gave him Joe Soto, who is a former title challenger. Good, big name. And I was like, oh, crikey. Joe Soto on the third fight. And he calf sliced him. And then, obviously, he went into the stratosphere then. It was all over social media. It was the second one in UFC history. Super impressive against a guy. Although Joe Soto is a big name, he's on the downward trajectory of his career, if you know what I mean.
Bit of a gatekeeper type fighter.
Yeah, he's still a name. It's one that makes people go, oh, Joe Soto sort of set up and go, crikey, right? He's stepping it up a bit. It's a step up, but it's also a name that's on the way down. It could be expected to win, but he wouldn't be shocked if he lost that sort of fight. Just for the UFC to see where are we with this guy. And obviously, Brett pulls that off, goes round the world. Should have really won Submission of the Year, I think. But and then I think it was his next fight was either Aljamain Sterling or Pedro Munoz, which are 2 of the best bantamweights in the world. Aljamain Sterling is currently #1 contender for the world title. And Pedro Munoz is an absolute animal who's a top 5 fighter. But those are his next tests because there was no going backwards. He couldn't really go backwards. So there's that. He obviously lost those 2 fights. He had to go back sort of to the drawing board. and he's working his way back up again because he was impressive on Saturday. I thought. I got in a couple of Twitter. I was like Lilley on Saturday. I got in a couple of Twitter spats with people, sort of, not that he needs defending, but you know what I mean, defending the fight and the way he performed. It was a clear victory for Brett, I think. But Jack is sort of at that stage now. He's had 2 wins back to back. I personally think his next fight will be a name that most people know, but again is one on the downward end of his career. So I think it's a fight that Jack can win, whoever it may be, because I don't think it's going to be a top name. And then it's to the races, I think. Whereas they give you that chance because they have high hopes for you, because you were like same as Jack. He's an IMAF champion. He's a former world champion. So they've given him.
I suppose as well
I wouldn't say.
In UFC, just to get in the UFC, you've already learnt your trade, so to speak, in other organisations. So you're already. It's not like in boxing. You start off in the small hall shows and you work your way up. Basically, I suppose for Jack and these guys, it's probably once you're in the UFC, it's almost the equivalent of coming in on sort of British level or European level in boxing terms.
It's bigger than that. It's world level, because there's the UFC for any MMA guy. It's different to boxing, because boxing have different organisations and you can all fight each other for the belts and stuff like that. But the UFC is their own entity. So, and it's the biggest one in the world. So as an MMA guy, anyone starting out, the goal is to be in the UFC, because that is the top of your sport. It's the Champions League of it's the World Cup of MMA. Once you're in there, and people about John, right? Like, he's 4-1 in the UFC. You know, he's lost 4. He's got a 1-4, I should say. And people focus on that a lot. Say, I seen loads of stuff like, oh, this guy's shit. Or, look, I think, ballpark figure, there's about 600 guys signed to the UFC, right? That's it. Signed to a contract with the UFC. God, no, I probably know. Well, it's more than 600 MMA guys, MMA fighters in South Wales, right? So you go worldwide, China, America, Russia, all these countries, you're talking millions and millions of fighters. There's 600 of them that are in the UFC. So John, Brett, Jack Marshman, Jack Shaw, they're in like the 0.1% of hardest cunts in the world. Fact. So for people to give John shit, he is fighting absolute killers. And the difference with that, I think, that John's had, the different like start that John's had in the UFC to Jack or Brett is, granted, he's bigger for a start, so they hit harder. But John was well into his 30s. John was well into his 30s when he got the call up. He'd already had like 20 odd wins under his belt. He'd already fought around the world. He'd been round the block, and it was like it was great that he got in, because it was deserved. But he's not at that age. They just, and he has visa problems getting in the US, so that held him up for a while. And then basically it was just, there's no easy fight. You were just in. The way they throw him to the wolves. If he makes it, they got something to work with. If he doesn't, they'll just cut him and bring somebody else in. There's no. He was a world champion, but he wasn't in an organisation like Cage Warriors. He was in Bama.
But I suppose as well that John being such a big banger, I suppose he's not an easy guy necessarily to match. There's very few guys, stand-up guys and strikers who would actually be willing to face him.
Yeah, and with John, well, we've seen what happens when they do. Because he sparked him out in 17 seconds. He clipped him on the end of the nose, and he was kept in. But thing is, John is, everybody knows what John's game plan is. He doesn't shy away from it. He doesn't pretend he's going to try and take you down and try and choke you, or he's coming in there to throw punches. He doesn't want to get taken down, and he wants to stand and hit you. Now, if you've got a coach around you or a team, or you're off about anyway, you're going to go, I'm not standing with this guy. That is ridiculous. I don't have to prove how hard I am. I'm in the UFC. I'm going to take him down where he's weakest, He's not terrible, and like, people think he can't do anything on the ground. He's far from fucking terrible. He could wrap me, you, and everybody else in Swansea up in seconds and put us to sleep. There's no doubt about it. To the average guy, he is very, very skilled. But we're talking, like I said, 0.1% guys of the world who's wrestled and done jiu-jitsu all their life. And John hasn't shied away the fact that he's not a big fan of grappling. He wants to stand there. He wants to knock you out. It's as simple as that.
Mm.
So when guys come in, their coach is going to say, don't do this. No, take him down and we'll go and see what happens there. And unfortunately for John, that's what's happened. The guy he just lost to, I know we spoke briefly. I asked him, like, what's he like? And he's 6-0. He was known as the Swedish Khabib, which is never good, especially if you want to stand and bang. He's knocked a couple of guys out with his hands. And he said afterward, I like to stand, but my coach told me to take him down straight away. So that's just the game he's in, unfortunately.
Yeah. So
It's
for
one of
John
those
now,
things.
I mean, where does he go next? Does he
It's tough.
just
Yeah.
wait for the call again against like a last minute type of thing?
Now he's 1-4, so that's his 5th fight. So I would think they either sign 4 or 6 fight deals. So say he signed a 4-fight deal first time round, he's on his 2nd contract, which means he should have a couple of fights left. Or if he signed a 6-fight deal, he's on his last fight. But the thing with the UFC is they can cut you anytime. They don't have to let you fight your 6 fights out. They can just go, oh well, you're out, done. It's as cutthroat as that, really. They don't, just because you've signed for 6 fights, they can cut you after 1 if they choose to. So there is that danger. There's no point because we know John, there's no point pretending that he'll be fine and no, he's not going to get cut. I bet he's thinking it as well. There's a chance he's going to get cut. So he haven't lost like 3 in a row, which is good. He's obviously knocked the guy out last time, and he's had quite a lot of publicity from Dana White was on Instagram talking about John's fight before it happened. I know they're big on, what's his name, Chimaev. Chimaev, is it? What's his fucking name?
No idea,
The
man.
one who just beat John. Hang on, wait there. Bear with me. Keep talking, Key. I ain't got to find. I can't, because I'll have people saying, this guy can't even fucking talk properly.
Well,
yeah, but go on.
I'm just going to say, for people who are listening to this podcast as opposed to watching on the YouTube version, you can see the it looks like he's outside in his house.
I'm on my bench, yeah.
And once Di finishes talking UFC with us, I want him to show us his fence that he's mentioned many times on the podcast in the past.
I can't show you the back of it because I've only painted like one panel. The gate.
Show us the one painted panel.
It's only had one coat as well. That's fuck you shaming me, you know. His name's Khamzat Chimaev. Right? I'm gonna call him Khamzat because it's easier to remember. But yeah, we'll get back to my fence now. Khamzat is Swedish Khabib, like I said, 6-0. He's an absolute beast. He's from one of these like Dagestan or one of these like Russian countries, but he moved to Sweden to train. He trains with top professionals like Gustafsson. It was always going to be an hard fight. Always. And if John had beat him, then he's on a collision course with some decent names. But
just regarding that, I mean, would John have a manager as such who'd make those decisions for him, or would he just be basically would he leave the phone call and be up to him?
He's got, as far as I'm aware, I think John Kavanagh, the Conor McGregor's coach, is his manager, because John manages all of his fighters, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
and obviously John fights out of SPG, but it was a late replacement as well. He wasn't down. It's just like John didn't get no luck. Do you know what I mean? He went out to Fight Island, which is amazing in the first place. There's a pandemic on, so I think that affected getting like John Kavanagh to Fight Island, because John Kavanagh didn't corner any of his fighters. He didn't corner Amakani, Makwan. He didn't corner anyone, so I think that affected the fact there's a pandemic on, and I think he just had a kid. So John's corner wasn't. It was sort of there. He had Chris Reese there, he had Curtis there, and Dan Lowell. But it's a week out before his fight. I think he got COVID, I think he was with positive test for COVID. And so they had to bring in a new guy, and they just bring in the Swedish Khabib, which is like, what the fuck? So you're already out there pretty much. You're not
Yeah.
John's never going to turn a fight down anyway. He'll fight anyone. And it just happened to be the guy they've been watching for ages and got massive hopes for, because he's fighting again this Saturday. Unheard of. He's going to make history in a week. He's having 2 fights in pretty much like 10 days.
I
So
just suppose it just that just shows you, well, so to John's detriment this time, but just shows you the advantages staying in shape and always staying ready and
yeah,
just being
always.
ready for the phone call.
And the thing with John's fight, Khamzat's normally fights at 170 welterweight, and for John's fight, obviously John's a middleweight, 185. So Khamzat took the call, didn't have to cut weight, just fought. He probably cut a little bit down to 185, but he won't be. I mean, he won't be much over that. Maybe 190. Cut a little bit of weight. He felt, obviously, I would expect John's a reasonably big guy, like, so he's probably feeling better than John. He knows how good he is. He knows John's game plan, because John doesn't hide it from anybody. He knows what he needs to do to win the fight, and he comes in and he showed off his skills. Unfortunately for John.
At this stage of John's career, do you think he can significantly improve his ground game? Or is he too long in the tooth? You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
No, he still trains. I know he trains, because Curtis obviously is a coach at the gym I coach at. And Curtis is the best wrestler in Britain. And I'm talking real wrestling now, not fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin stuff. Yeah, but he's the best wrestler in Britain, and I've seen the way Curtis coaches. I see it all the time. He's a very good coach. So John's constantly training with Curtis and people like that. So, like I say, to me and you, I got it in my head that John's a purple belt. I might be totally wrong on that, right? And I'm pretty sure he had his belts off judo as well. So he's always trained. To me and you, he'd be able to smash us to bits on the floor.
To me and you, and probably to 99% of other MMA fighters.
Yeah. So yeah. It's just that level. There's levels to get to the UFC, and then there's levels within the UFC.
But within the levels of the UFC, can John significantly improve? Obviously, his ground game is a clear weakness. You mentioned it, and I think it was mentioned before the contests. A lot of people have mentioned it online, and you could see on the fight on the night, literally as soon as it started, it was on the ground straight away.
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying about them throwing him to the dogs. Not just him, it happens to a lot of people. Unless they've got, like Brett and Jack, IMAF championships behind them. They're really young. Like Brett's only 28, Jack's 24, multiple world champions. John won the BAMA world title. He had to campaign to get in the UFC, so they didn't just pull him straight in. He's exciting, there's no doubt about it, but they're not going to go out their way to give him favourable matches, if you know what I mean. Stylistically favourable matches. They just go in, right, he's had visa issues, so he's had to take a short notice fight for like 3 weeks against a real tough guy in China. So he's got to fly halfway around the world. I mean, it's just not. I bet he got regrets about he spoke about on you, about the Jack Marshman fight. When he dropped Jack, he should have pounced him and won the fight. It changes his career completely. Don't get me wrong, we're taught he might have plenty more fights, and they might just go, yeah, let's make it exciting, let's take him against a guy who ain't gonna try and take him down unless see what happens.
And I suppose one thing as well, that rematch with Marshman is always there as a massive fight for Wales.
I think that could even if in a few years they both left the UFC, that could still happen on the Cage Warriors or something. You know what I mean? It's a fight. Whether Jack would take it, I don't know, but I know John would take it in a heartbeat. But we're talking now like John's career's over. It was a tough loss. I'm not going to pretend it's not a tough loss. I think the stats were like John threw 3 punches, he landed 2. Khamzat threw 141 or something and landed 133 or something ridiculous. But on one side you can go, wow, that's not great. But on the other flip side of it, John, there's plenty of fighters that's been out there that have tapped to strikes, which is sort of frowned on in MMA. You just take it on the chin until the ref jumps in. But there are people who tap the strikes. John just took them all, and you can't knock John out. You can hit him in the face with a brick, and he's not going out. Honest to God, you cannot hurt him. He's ridiculous chin. He's got ridiculous power and ridiculous chin. He's a freak when it comes to stuff like that. But he took all those strikes, and he was okay. He wasn't, you know what I mean? He wasn't severely hurt. He was okay. But we're talking like his career's done. He's 1-4. That's it. They might not release him. They might just chuck him in. Go on, have some fun, because he's entertainment. But like I said before, he's in the 1% of the hardest blokes in the world. Me and Dino talk about this all the time down the gym, because obviously we're coaching guys at the bottom of the ladder at the moment, amateurs, open for some of them. It's the dream to coach in the UFC. So never mind fight for a fighter. This is the ultimate goal, just to get to the UFC. In my eyes, and many people's eyes, you've made it. It's the top of your sport. That's the highest you can go. It's fighting in the UFC. John's fought all around the world. He's been featured on TV loads. He's spoken on the biggest MMA chat shows in the world. He's got pictures on his Instagram. Conor McGregor's his training teammate. In 15 years, much the same like Enzo. Enzo's not really appreciated now for what he done. Nobody really appreciates. You get a couple. Brilliant Enzo is. No, like same as Colin Jones. In 20 years, people are going to go back. Oh fuck, because it ain't going to be many more world champions from Swansea. Maybe Jay Harris, but Enzo's going to be an handful forever. There's not going to be many, and it's going to take a while for people to really appreciate. Like John Phillips fought in the UFC against some of the hardest guys in the world on some of the biggest shows in the world, and I think it'll take a couple of years, but people will eventually see that. I'm not saying he's over. I'm not saying he's done, not by any stretch, because John can knock anyone out. Anyone. If they give him favourable matches, he'll win.
Just saying, you mentioned Enzo there, and of course Enzo's big rival within Wales, similar to Marshman and John Phillips. Enzo and Nathan Cleverley, a fight that never actually happened. But if they announced that fight now, if Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn announced Enzo Maccarinelli against Nathan Cleverley for 3 months' time, I guarantee you any venue in Wales would sell out for that fight.
100%. 100%. Like
both Cleverley's, I don't know. You think you got problems if you follow his social media?
Let's get into that. Fuck yeah. Let's get into that, because I spoke to somebody who knows Nathan Cleverley quite well. I won't say who he is. This has been going on for a good year, 18 months, isn't it? He's been like a bit strange on social media.
Interesting things, should we say, on his Instagram account. But I don't know whether it's if he's just putting things on there just to try to see how can people react to this.
The guy I know knows him quite well. I messaged him and said, "What the fuck is going on with Nathan Cleverley's Twitter?" I think it was. He's putting on stuff like, "I am a god. Nobody is as good as me," and all this shit. And he wrote back and said, "Yeah, he's not right. He's not right." That's pretty much what I got from it. I didn't push it anymore, but it didn't come across like it was a laugh, if you know what I mean. So, yeah. He is as nutty as a squirrel shit at the moment, I think. Yeah. I think that's the reason that fight will never get made out now, because obviously it doesn't seem normal, sort of, shall we say, for lack of a better word. But like Enzo's openly said he'd love his last fight to be in the Liberty Stadium. Yeah. Capacity, that's 20,000, 21,000. Jay Harris fights on there. That'd sell out, no problem. Especially in Swansea. No problem at all.
I suppose the only thing with that is, from now, is if that fight was not announced for maybe end of August, September, but obviously, as we said earlier, you're not going to take a risk with no roof on the stadium. So you're probably talking the summer of 2021 if Enzo was going to fulfill that dream.
It's running out pretty sharpish for him, though. You know what I mean? I know he's ultra fit, and but he's had a couple of wars. You know what I mean? I think he's 39 now. Don't get me wrong, he is, and I mean like ultra fit. It's ridiculous. If I go up Bone and Mine at 6 o'clock in the morning, and if I drive through Bone and Mine at 6 o'clock in the morning, I am guaranteed to see Enzo pounding the streets. he, he's just like, he never stops. He can't not train. So fitness wise is not a thing, but he's 39. He's had a good few wars. Do I want to see him fight again? It depends on the opponent, 100%. But he's also, like he said he's in talks with like MMA promotions. You know what I mean? I can't remember what he said off mic and on mic, so I don't really want to go into. Like, I don't want to say who he said or what he said.
Whenever I've bumped into Enzo, different boxing shows, and when I've done the commentary with him on S4C and that, it doesn't take very long before the conversation goes on to when Enzo's making a comeback. So I know he is absolutely desperate to box again. He's desperate to box. It's strange, isn't it? You have some boxers, like, just use the example, 2 Welsh fighters, 2 Welsh-Italian fighters. Joe Calzaghe, you get the impression with Joe that he just had enough of boxing. He's done, he's happy he was achieved, he's happy in retirement. So the fire has died out, if you like. And then you got Enzo, and the fire is absolutely raging, and he is desperate to get back in that boxing ring again.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Hang on, 2 seconds. Do call me. What's the matter? Oh, even without being now, right? Good girl. Sorry. Yeah, I don't think he'll ever go out with Enzo. He loves it too much. I can't see Calzaghe sitting down on a Thursday night and sticking an old Box Nation card on from 2012. But Enzo will, guaranteed. And if it ain't one on, he'll go on YouTube and watch an old fight from 1984. He knows every boxer, every record, every opponent they've ever. He is so knowledgeable. That's why he makes a good pundit. But he lives it, doesn't he? He lives it. And I don't think he's going to stop living that. And like I say, he's knocking on a bit now. I know we all are, but 39-year-old for a top, he's not going to fight no bum. He said that to me. He said, I will not fight.
And that's the thing. I'd love to see Enzo get one more last win, but then who do you match him with? That's the tricky thing. I mean, it'd almost be disrespectful to Enzo to put him in with, to use a Nigel
British
Benn,
level guy,
a Mexican road sweeper or something, just someone for Enzo to roll over.
Yeah. Well, like that guy in we seen him fight in the Czech Republic guy.
Yeah, Savcina.
Yeah, it's you can't fight something like that because he won't sell the tickets. People will go out to watch him. His last fight. It's like, this is Enzo's last. Let's go and watch Enzo's last fight. People will do that, yeah, but it wouldn't sell out like a competitive fight with maybe a European title on it or Commonwealth, anything, maybe even a British title, just for that one last go. I think he'd fight for a British. How good would that be? Him to go out fighting a good guy for a British title. I know he's won it before, but you can never win the British title too many times, can you? Let's be honest.
The only thing for Enzo is, though, and I don't know if he listens to this, and he can call me out on it if he wants. If he does,
I doubt it.
If Enzo was to win the British and look good and win the British, how difficult would it be for him not to say, okay, I won the British, now I want to fight for the next level and fight for the European?
I think the biggest battle he's going to have is not the last fight, is actually going, I've had enough now, I'm giving up. I think that's going to be his toughest one.
But I think the good thing for Enzo compared to, let's just say, Nathan Cleverly, just for example, I mean, I don't know personally what's happening with Nathan, but at least with Enzo, he's got his own boxing gym, and his boxing gym keeps his hand in the game, and he's obviously up to his eyeballs. And anyone who's involved in amateur boxing, yourself, you were involved. If you want, it can literally be a 7 day a week.
It's almost like a full-time job. Almost like even when you're in work, your phone don't stop with people ringing you from Tylerstown and stuff, asking, is you 84-kilo guy in the gym? And you know what I mean? Can he fight a week next Thursday? It doesn't stop. And the thing is, Enzo's in a different position when it comes to that. He's financially secure, so he can spend all his time in the gym. That's where he goes to train on his own, and then in the night he opens it back up and he'll come in and train. But so thing with Enzo, I think he loves training people as much as he loves boxing. Yeah. So It might make his transition a little bit easier, to be honest. I know we sort of speculate and speaking for him. He probably went next time he sees me, he'll say, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But because every time I see him, he ruins me. Yeah, he ruins me. But I think he'll make his transition a little bit easier.
Here's a question for you, Di.
Yeah.
Totally unrelated. I mean, James Lilley was supposed to be on here tonight with us. You two are the main hosts. I just sort of keep things ticking over. But
he might drop in. You never know.
No, I was hoping he was going to drop in. So I wanted to ask him a question. Maybe you can shed some light on it. What was the incident with the Thomas the Tank Engine fans who he upset over the weekend?
I only had a quick look, right? I'll tell you what I know. Where is he? I'll text him now. Drop in to tell us about Thomas the Tank.
So I know James changed the settings on his Twitter account because he'd been getting abusive messages of Thomas the Tank Engine
death
fans.
Threats.
Death threats.
As far from what I could gather, right, is a groups on Facebook that are into Thomas the Tank. Like, these are adults. These are adults, and their avatars and their pictures are all pictures of Thomas the Tank, and Gordon, and the Fat Controller, and all that. I used to love Thomas the Tank as much as the next person, but not to that extent. But they all talk about like past episodes and discuss theories and stuff like that. So Lilley being Lilley went in on him, didn't he? and they ganged up. They ganged up, and then there were other like groups as well, but I can't remember. It was other like I don't know, Bob the Builder groups and stuff. All going for him.
Groups.
All going for him, sending death threats and everything, and calling his kids ugly and proper going for him.
But so they formed like the anti-Lilley alliance.
Yeah, it was like fucking NWO and WCW days. But they went after him to the point where he had to back down, and he didn't really back down on Twitter. But I think he just thought, oh, fuck this. There's too many of these weird fuckers after me. Yeah, I have texted him, see if he'll put one.
There we are. So we leave that one on the back burner then to see if he jumps in. Another thing that's been on the news, I'm not sure if you've noticed it today or it's come up on your Twitter or whatever. Mike Tyson,
an hour ago.
Mike Tyson making a comeback against Roy Jones Jr.
That's not good on any.
No.
It's not good in anyone's pocket, I think.
September the 12th, I think, in LA. Exhibition over 8 rounds.
They got to say exhibition, really, haven't they? They can't say, yeah, these two old fuckers are going to hit fuck at each other. They can't really like promote it like a competitive fight, can they? Mike Tyson's, like you say, 54. Everyone's like, oh, Mike Tyson's in amazing shape. Oh, I don't see Mike Tyson fight anyone. He's 54. I don't see any 54-year-old fighting. You know what I mean? It shouldn't happen. Yeah, he's in great nick. That's a lot of. That's not natural. Let's put it that way. You cannot get in that nick at 54. Natural, impossible. So obviously, there's a lot of supplements being taken to get him in that nick. Roy Jones Jr.
Just want to point out that it was Di who mentioned that, not me.
Allegedly, Lilley told me.
So any lawsuits, send him his direction. And we'll send Richie Garner to defend him.
Fucking hell, I'm not a paedophile. I'll be fucked. No, I got nothing to sue. Anyway, you can have whatever I got fucked up. But no, I don't see any 54-year-old fight, and I haven't seen Roy Jones Jr. won a fight since Calzaghe beat him, really. And then when Enzo sparked him, definitely don't want to see him back in the ring after that. No. So I know he have fought a couple of times since then. I think since Enzo in Russia.
Two or three times, I think.
Yeah, you don't want to see it. It's sad, if anything, because like Roy Jones Jr., you just think one of the best of all time, without a doubt. Hand speed, cockiness, just knockout power. He had everything.
A unique style. You wouldn't.
Yeah. He showboating, hands behind your back, and then knock the guy. Nobody can do what he done. Well, Naz was like a lower weight version of Roy Jones almost, but it's quite sad to see now. He hasn't got the speed really. His chin's fucking long gone, and Tyson he's 54, and he said himself he hasn't got it no more. I don't care what he says about his comeback and stuff. He said it loads of times. You've seen it in his old fights.
Yeah,
he just hasn't got that nastiness anymore. He hasn't got it in him. I don't care what he's been saying. He's more chilled out now than he's ever been. And if
Yeah.
he didn't have it then, he's not going to have it now. It's a fact. So, and do you really want to, if it is an exhibition and they talk about it, let's earn loads of money and do fuck all, do you want to see a 54-year-old bloke and Roy Jones Jr. go round, take each other round?
Yeah, because it's a pay-per-view as well. So, I mean, I don't know what... I know people in America pay a lot more for their pay-per-view than in this country. So you'd imagine it's going to be at least, I don't know, $30, $40 minimum, I would guess.
Oh, the pay-per-views in America, well, UFC, I think, is $60, $70.
I think it's
So
more than that for big fights, maybe as much as
like,
$80.
well, there we are. Mayweather McGregor was $100 in America. So I can't imagine it being anywhere near that.
We won't talk about that fight, will we?
Five, probably. Oh, Mayweather, I think, yeah. Oh, I'm waiting for the rematch. You had him in one round, I tell you. But you hit him with that uppercut, so wait till the rematch. But no, I don't really want to see Tyson more than Roy Jones, because Tyson's more loved, I think, in terms of like just the public consensus. Everybody loves Mike Tyson. You know what I mean?
I think
Boxing fans love Roy Jones, but everybody loves Mike Tyson.
I think with an exhibition between someone who's as heavy-handed as Mike Tyson and someone who's as Roy Jones hasn't got a particularly good chin, even at down at light heavyweight. I mean, even if Tyson's pulling his punches against Roy Jones, there's certainly a chance he could knock him out even in an exhibition.
Oh yeah, and if Tyson kisses you, you got a chance of knocking you out, right? So there's always that. Yeah, there's always that, and that's the thing. They're fighters at the end of the day, regardless how old they are and how much I just hammered them. They're fighters, and if someone hits them, they're still going to have that instinct to smack them back. Yeah. So I know they're professionals and stuff, but like they haven't fought for a while now. Well, Tyson and Roy Jones haven't fought competitively for a while, but they're still going to have that thing. If they get caught, the ego's going to take over.
Yeah, like if you go and watch amateur boxing shows, quite often, if guys can't match at the same weight, they'll have an exhibition. Like you've obviously seen it loads of times.
Yeah.
I think they're actually called skill bouts now, I mean, not exhibitions. But
yeah, that's it.
Quite often during the skills bout or an exhibition, one fighter lands one good punch, the other guy comes back with another punch, and then before you know it, what's supposed to be just a bit of a sparring session, a bit of a tear up.
We're in the corner, like, whoa, take it down. No. He's back. That's in the corner. I've done that plenty of times. The people that start, because a lot of them can be where one guy is a lot better than the other guy, and it's known, but they both couldn't get a fight, so we leave them have an exhibition, or one guy's opponent didn't turn up, so, and there's a guy there watching his mate from the gym, and he's told to get a pair of shorts on, so that's what happens a lot of the time, trying to make up one fighter's night. So yeah, but it always ends in a war. It always ends. Someone's always tamping at the end of it. Always.
And you recommend that I know you were involved in a coaching MMA and you're involved in sort of boxing circles as well in Swansea area. Any word on when the sort of grassroots or amateur boxing or amateur MMA is going to start back?
I know, like, some gyms can get, there's something called, the government give you elite academy status, which if you have professional athletes training in your gym, you've got to provide proof that they're professional athletes, contracts or fight contracts or something along those lines. They'll provide proof, and then they'll go, okay, you can be an elite academy, but these are the stipulations. You're only allowed 4 people in at a time of social distancing. Everybody who comes through the door have got to be temperature checked and everything sanitized. And there's a lot of stipulations that go with it, but that's the only thing at the moment that's going around. And obviously not everybody can get that. Amateur boxing gyms aren't going to get that. Now, a boxing gym, you can take sparring out the equation for a while, and you can socially distance train on a bag. No doubt about it. MMA and jiu-jitsu is a lot harder because obviously you're sweating in each other's mouths all the time. So it's a bit different, and I think that unfortunately could be one of the last things to open. Although, like, obviously these guys up top in the government aren't educated, and I dare say people around them aren't getting their fucking brown belts on every 3 times a week either. So they need to be educated on the fact that MMA gyms, not so much boxing gyms, because loads, and you know this, loads of them are smelly, horrible, sweaty, damp places. But those are the best ones. These
Oh
are my
yeah,
favourite
they are
ones.
my favourite type of gyms.
Yeah, boxing gyms should be smelly and stuff, but MMA gyms, because you roll in and your face is rubbing on the mat and stuff, you get staph and ringworm. And so MMA gyms and jiu-jitsu gyms especially are some of the most sanitized and clean places you'll ever train. Ever. And that is not just because of COVID, that is the standard practice for years and years and years. They're the cleanest places you'll ever go into. If you want to train somewhere, they're cleaner than fucking Penarole Leisure Centre or Penland Leisure Centre. They're cleaner than all them. All of them. It's sanitized 2-3 times a day. If there's a training session going on, when everybody leaves, and I think this is what all gyms should do, MMA, jiu-jitsu gyms. The students get the mops and the disinfectant and the brushes, so the mats are swept first. So obviously with jiu-jitsu and stuff, there's loads of air on it, fucking pubes and all fucking sorts. So they swept first, then they disinfectant, sprayed on or mopped or wherever it may be, and then it's left to dry. Then everybody goes home. And then you come in the next day, everything has been disinfected, you train, and you do it again. And then if there's one on in the afternoon, you do it again. So they are some of the most cleanest places you ever have. So the fact that they still close and pubs are open is pissing me off. It's really winding me up, because you've seen the pictures. Fucking the first night they opened the pubs in Bristol, social distancing. There's about 30,000 people in the street all necking each other. Now, you can't expect people to drink beer or whiskey or cocktails and social distance. It's end of. And people have been locked up. These should have been the last fucking places to open. No, look at it. I don't know if I said it before. Fast food restaurants, one of the first things to open. Fucking pubs, open. So you can get fat and drunk, but you can't train and you can't exercise. And that affects mental health, it affects physical health, it affects everything. People want to train, people need to train. And loads of these gyms are never going to be able to open back up again, because you can't blame a person who trains in that gym for cancelling your membership because they're not paying. Now, jiu-jitsu gyms and stuff aren't cheap either. They're not like a £20 a month. It's very fucking rare. So you're talking like 40, 50, 60 pounds. Some gyms I know are £80 a month just for jiu-jitsu. It's a lot of money. But these people are obsessive people. They're freaks. Once they start, they can't stop. So they are willing to pay this money, but you can't expect them to pay this for 4 or 5 months and keep paying it to keep the gyms open.
So, in answer to the original question, when are we likely to see MMA up?
What was the I was going to say, what was the original question?
No time soon. Then is the short answer.
Dino, quick
I mean,
answer.
is it? I know it's not ideal, but I mean, would an option be like just for guys like yourself to put a show on in your own gym, invite another gym along, just no crowd or anything, or is that just not feasible?
No, there's no money to be made in that. And the only reason most shows are put on is to make money, which, I mean, it's hard for them to train. They can't train because they can't grapple. And you can't open gym. You can't, as much as we want to, we can't open the gyms up because they'll get shut down by the police or the government and then you are fucked. So you kind of got to sit there. Dino seems to think maybe September we'll be lucky.
Right.
Now, with guidelines that'll be as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, but
yeah, I think the knock-on effect from the COVID is probably going to be. I think the knock-on effect is going to be. It's going to take 12, 18 months to fully everything get back to normal.
I don't. Well, I say this to my missus earlier on. Will it ever get back to normal? Because from tomorrow you got to wear a face mask when you go to Tesco now. Tesco policy everywhere. So, like for us lot, it's like no, fuck no, I'm not wearing a mask. Sort of, I don't like change sort of thing. But for our kids and stuff, they're going to grow up and wearing a face mask everywhere, I think, is going to be normal. It's as normal as when
it is already. I think it's in like China and some countries that got really bad pollution.
Yeah, China, yeah, especially.
It's normal anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be worldwide, no? And you're going to see when you go into a clothes shop or a sports shop or something, you're going to see your trainer section, your tracksuit section, and then your face mask section with all new designs on, a Nike one, Adidas one, or you're going to have all Louis Vuitton face masks and shit.
now's a chance in die to cash in when the going's good and get some TTLO face masks knocked up.
We need some listeners first. Fuck, I'll have,
Get them on the
I'll have a
market.
box.
Well,
I'll have
me
a
you and
box of
me you and
50,000 face masks in here.
me you and James could have one each. We can model them each week or wherever we do these.
But I think it's going to be normal. Like for our kids and stuff, that's just going to be like wearing a pair of shoes or using the internet or all these things. I do think that. But back to your original question, I'm hoping sooner rather than later for the MMA gyms. But the way it's going, probably like in work now with me. I've been working day in day out in supermarkets, surrounded by people coughing and touching shit. And from tomorrow, I have to wear a face mask in work. I'm like, I'm 5 months deep in this. What's the fucking point? You know what I mean? It's fucking madness, man. But I'm hoping September, August, but I don't know. We'd be lucky before Christmas, I think, the way this is going.
Last one for you and I. As James doesn't seem to be joining us.
Nah, he's fucked us right off, isn't he?
Last one. If you could have any podcast guest on the TTLO, who would you have and why?
If I could have anyone. Guest,
anyone.
oh, fucking hell. Hot. First one that comes to my mind now, Joe Rogan. He doesn't do podcasts, very rare anyway.
But he's isn't he on Spotify only now? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, we're on Spotify though. We're on Spotify.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can get us on Spotify. We get tidy number on it. It's alright, like I don't even know how we got on there, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what I done. No. Fuck knows. I haven't got a clue, but we're on there. I think you can Google us and we'll come up on everything. But we're gonna be a good one. If I'm gonna pick, I'll pick a boxer, I'll pick an MMA fighter, right? Boxer, MMA fighter. It'd be like a legend. It'd have to be a legend because they'd have all the stories, wouldn't they? So it'd be like, I quite like Michael Bisping. I know that's not fucking, you're not really reaching there. Like, oh, some fucking British fella. Well done, nice one. You had the choice of the world, like Chuck Liddell and fucking. Tell you who I won't get is Dana White. He don't give a fuck. But boxer wise, he's dead now, so I can't get him. I couldn't get Joe Frazier on. But then in his last couple of years, I wouldn't be able to understand what he's saying anyway, would I? But boxer, what am I on about? Can Lomachenko speak English?
I'm sure he could speak English better than you can speak Ukrainian. So
yeah, well, we deal with Lilley every week, and he can barely speak English. So yeah, probably Lomachenko would be a good one for me. What about you? If you could have anyone on Gibbons Talks Boxing YouTube page, give it a shout out. Who would you have?
If I could have a time machine and have anyone, I'd have someone like Jack Johnson probably. He's obviously long time dead. First ever black world heavyweight champion.
I like the story of Jack Johnson when he got pulled over by the police for speeding.
Yeah. And
it was like, I say it was a $50 fine. He gave him $100 because he told him he was coming back in an hour.
Yeah,
it's quality. But that'll be a good one. Yeah,
Jack Johnson would be good. Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, Jack Dempsey.
That'd be a good one. I'd like people who are associated with it. Rocky Marciano would be a good one because he wouldn't bow to the mafia, would he? He wouldn't bow to fight fixing.
Rocky Marciano would be a good one. You're asking about the myth about the pub in Swansea on Wine Street.
We talked about it the other day.
The one on the left hand side, down towards the bottom.
Yeah.
Emporium, is it?
No. Oh fuck my life. Right there. Oh, I fucking sang karaoke in Elliston. Right there, I'm gonna have to Google it. Rocky Marciano Swansea will come up.
But you think that pub would make more of that, really, wouldn't you?
They've closed. Well, it's called something. It was called the Bucket List after that.
Right.
And then that's fucked off. I don't know what's that. I haven't been down there. Look at that Google search. I typed in Rocky Mark. It come up, right? Let me see my phone. Rocky Marciano Swansea. Already on there. Didn't even have to type it in. It's got to tell me on there, hasn't it? what's it called? Somebody tweeted. I was talking about this the other day. Not Varsity keeps coming to me. It's not fucking Varsity.
What's the story there? Did he get in a fight with some Australian sailors? I think it was.
No, I know he was based in Swansea, wasn't he? That's
Yeah.
not a myth. That's true.
Yeah.
Something about a fight. Yeah, I'm not quite entirely sure, but that pub. God, I can't believe I can't remember the name. That just had pictures of Rocky Marciano everywhere.
Because there wasn't many years ago. There wasn't many pubs down Wine Street, was it? It was just mainly.
Yeah, there's banks, banks and like accountants and stuff, like Lloyd's Bar, whatever. I think it's still down there. I'm showing my age now. Bank statement. That's what I used to know it as.
Yeah.
Because it used to be a bank, and it was just full of things like that. But now I'm not quite sure what's down there. But yeah, Rocky Marciano would be a good one. You've already interviewed, like, I'm talking. I seen fucking Michael Bisping. You've interviewed fucking bigger names than him. You know what I mean? Eubank Jr. and
probably
stuff.
Klitschko. Well, anyway, look, when I interviewed Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko, and when he was scheduled to fight Derek Chisora, I interviewed Klitschko, and Klitschko was there with all the British press talking about world politics, talking about boxing, talking about any subject that came up, and you could tell, really perfect English. And then, I interviewed Klitschko. It's like, oh my God, what an impressive guy. Then I tried to interview Derek Chisora, and he tried to show me a picture of his dog called Killer, which is a little Chihuahua dog on his phone. And so I'd done it for KOTV, and the interview with Chisora maybe lasted 10 minutes, but it was probably about 30 seconds worth on there that you could use, because most of it is about his dog called Killer, this little Chihuahua thing.
What do you get nervous when you interview a man?
I used to, but I guess you just get used to it, really.
Do you have like a set of generic questions and all of them just for each situation? Like,
yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah, you have Gareth Jones, actually, the writer for Boxing News.
Yeah.
He gave me a good tip. To be fair to him, he pointed out to me, he took trouble of saying to me, he said, when you ask someone a question, try and base your next question off their answer, which is obvious, really. But when you're a little bit nervous and you're not really, I was never trained to interview anyone. I just sort of had to go with it, and it seemed to go well. So I try to do that. And if someone gives, depending on the answer they give me, I'll try and base my next question on their answer. And then if there's no real obvious question to ask, I'll just go back to my generic questions. Like the obvious one is, how's your training camp? How are you going to do in your next fight? What do you think so and so's strengths and weaknesses are?
What's next for you? That's always a good one.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it's to do what you've done in how many years have you been doing it now? In a while, isn't it?
About 10 years. When Nathan Cleverly actually was the first person I interviewed for television, when he was getting ready to fight Bramer.
Why did you do it?
Well, I had a professional video camera. I just bought one because I always like filming and photography and that type of thing. So I bought this professional video camera, but actually Jamie Arthur it was. I interviewed Jason Cook, I think, just for YouTube. And Jamie Arthur said to me, do you mind doing an interview with him? So I interviewed Jamie Arthur as well, who was training with Darren Wilson. And then Darren started getting involved in training Nathan Cleverly, his strength and conditioning coach. So I just thought, well, I'll see if I can get an interview with Nathan. And I managed to get an interview with Nathan, and KOTV were interested in it. He's up and coming, hot Welsh prospect from.
Did you send it to them? Did you send it to them and say, look what I got? Yeah,
basically, yeah. This guy I know, a friend of mine, was like a professional filmmaker from Canada, so he was able to give me quite a lot of tips and tell me the right equipment to buy, even though I was literally just going on YouTube and YouTubing how to do interviews, just picking up tips, trial and error, basically.
I need to get way more up to date on videoing and editing. I'm barely scraping by on a fucking podcast. Barely.
But I think now though that's much has changed. That it's the content is the important bit. I don't think the way people don't really care now how it was filmed. As long as the audio is clear, people don't care if the picture's not brilliant. Because it's the content is the important bit.
Yeah, like I watch YouTube more now, but only last couple of months I realised it's basically your own TV station if you want. You know what I mean? It's everything and anything is on there. So only now I'm starting to use it. But I listen to podcasts. Well, I drive most of the day back across Wales and stuff. So I'm listening to hours and hours of podcasts. I'm trying to find more of anything.
Hmm.
But yeah, you are right in what you say, the content. And like I say to Lilley all the time, I'm as guilty as Lilley. We were supposed to do this Monday. I know you couldn't do Monday, could you? Or Sunday, sorry, Sunday.
Yeah.
And me and him got talking over text, and I was supposed to ring him like 8 o'clock to do a podcast. I just fucking forgot. I said, "Oh, sorry, I'll do it tomorrow. We'll record it tomorrow." And then he texted me about 9:30, going, "You were supposed to ring me tonight." I was like, "Ah, shit, yeah, sorry." So it's not just him, but like I always say to him, content and the regularity of the episodes, because I know, because I listen to so many. I'm waiting on a Tuesday, or I'm checking on a Wednesday, see if Rogan's done another one or something like that. So to the 4 people who listen to this, I would like to think, wait, like, oh, it's Monday. We haven't really got a set day ever. I mean, we used to. It used to be every Sunday, didn't it? We do it on a Sunday and I put it up on a Monday, but we got shit. But I know what you're saying. We got to be more regular. Everybody needs to be more regular and put more content out there, like you say. So, but I think we done all right tonight, Key.
Yeah. Just it'd be a shame to not mention the boys fighting in the UFC and a few other bits and bobs. So
Yeah, well, that's the problem we've had before. Is big stuff's happened, and me and Lilley gone, yeah, we'll do one, yeah, and then 2 weeks have passed, and that big news is old news, so it's pointless fucking talking about it. So we missed loads,
I suppose
but
especially
that's what
for TTLO being like a Swansea boxing MMA podcast as well. Like
we have to. I know, obviously, John's been on here a couple of times, so and Lily's best mates with John, so we all had that little bit more of a personal connection. Like I know Brett. I suppose Lilley has got a better personal connection with Brett because he trained with him loads. He's trained with him loads and loads. So obviously we want to see more with Lilley, but we were class as mates do really well. So it's not nice to see what happened to John, but on the flip side, it's great to see Brett. It was super. We didn't really cover that much, so I'll quickly cover it. He was super impressive for me. That guy was a freak in terms of his length. Of his arms I'm talking about now. I didn't, you know what I mean? But he could fight Brett's hand while still being, you know what I mean, comfortable up against the cage. But and Brett had a tough first round, got dropped. But he's like the king of the grind, Brett. He's got a gas tank that'll go for days. He's one of the is because he's from Wales. You automatically think that his wrestling's all right, but it's not. His wrestling's his MMA wrestling is world class. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. They'll shoot me down because he's from Wales. He's from Bont, and he's not from fucking Oklahoma or something. But his wrestling is world class. It's as simple as that. That guy was an NCAA champion, as far as I'm aware, in wrestling. So, and Brett controlled him for the rounds 2 and 3 and won the fight. And people, although the stats were in Jackson's favour, which I was arguing like fuck with people on Twitter, they were like, he had more control time than Brett. I was like, Brett controlled the fight. Simple as that. I don't care. I give a fuck how much time. I said if a fight was based on stats, if the winner, whoever had the best stats, you wouldn't need judges. Simple as that. So stats mean fuck all. I don't care. Sometimes they obviously in Kamzat's case, they showed how dominant he was when he fought. But in Brett's case, it's not judged by
stats alone can be very misleading in any sport, I think,
100%.
but I think especially boxing and MMA, they can be totally misleading.
Oh, 100%. But yeah, I didn't really cover Brett. But I mean, I was super impressed with Brett because he doesn't carry real knocker power. He doesn't, although he has had a calf slice and he had a couple of submission, you wouldn't think of him like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu fucking phenom who's going to tap everybody. But he grinds you. He doesn't leave you alone. You cannot get him out. He's like fucking glue. Brilliant. And people don't appreciate that. Like people go, oh, why don't they just stand and fucking, that's why everyone likes John, because he knocks people out. But they need to go in a cage and just try and hold someone up against a cage for 5 minutes. it's so tight. Or try and keep someone on the floor for 5 minutes, or try and get up off the floor for 5 minutes. It's so tiring, and that's when you get the true appreciation for how hard it is. So I really thought Brett was impressive, as well as Jack, almost as much as Jack. I know Jack got the finish, and Brett went the full distance, but it was almost as impressive for me. But yeah, just get that in before we leave.
Okay, Di. It's been
Yeah, nice to see you.
good to talk to you, mate.
And you, mate.
I'll send you the file probably tomorrow morning, and
Yeah, sounds.
follow the TTLO social media and all the usual places, I guess.
And Gibbons Talks Boxing.
And Gibbons Talks Boxing, but yeah, I think I was there.
There it is.
Boxing. Very neglected channel, actually. Even more neglected than TTLO.
You've got loads of fucking videos and subscribers, huh?
Well, yeah, they've probably been leaving in droves since lockdown, so they've been doing hardly anything. But
when you just come and interview Lilley every other week.
Yeah. Well, probably interviewed Lilley to tell me about his return to boxing, and then by the time I uploaded to YouTube, he'd retired from boxing and gone back to BKB.
He's a fucking nightmare, isn't he? He's a nightmare.
Right. Okay, Di. All the best, mate.
Top man. Thank you, mate.
Top man.
Mate. Ta-ra, mate. Ta-ra.
What's that where then? That's for fucking pedos and stuff, isn't it?
We lost 2 of our listeners. 4 left now.
I had Alistair over him to win by knockout.
I live across the track.
It was nice and fucking straight until you fucking touched it.
You said chocolate on a hip.
Yeah, you were bad at it.
Get down, baby. Across.
Let's go podcast. Woo!
Are we podcasting now?